Hi, Chuck Hawley from West Marine, and today we're talking about emergency beacons and how to select them. This is a buyer's guide that will allow you to look at the wide number of beacons that are on the market and select the one that's right for you. Emergency beacons are a wonderful safety item for any boat, and for that matter, kayaker or even hikers and people that spend a lot of time in the wilderness. They send an emergency message up to a constellation of satellites, and from those satellites it's transmitted down to rescue agencies on the land, which come out and get you. So it's a great thing to have whether you're on the high seas or in the high country. There are two main categories of these devices. There are PLBs and EPIRBs, which are marinized units designed to work with a series of search and rescue satellites that are orbiting overhead. Or there are so-called SEND devices, or satellite-enabled notification devices. The SEND devices have some important advantages, but they're not actually part of the global marine distress system. So they're treated as really good, useful information, but not part of the official government way of notifying when a vessel gets in distress. This video is going to concentrate mostly on PLBs and EPIRBs. So the first question you want to consider is whether you want a PLB or an EPIRB. PLBs have the advantage that when you deploy them, and incidentally they turn themselves on when they're dropped into the water automatically, they float upright, they transmit with the antenna in a vertical position, and they transmit for 48 hours. So this allows you to tie this to a dinghy or to a life raft or even to yourself and have it bob alongside of you. PLBs, by comparison, are very small, they don't necessarily float, and they transmit for 24 hours, and they have to be held in the right attitude. In other words, when I deploy the antenna, I have to put it on a surface so the antenna stays straight up. So if you want something that's more automatic in its operation, that lasts longer, an EPIRB, Emergency Position Indicating Radio Beacon, is a good choice. If you want something that's compact for a smaller boat, or especially if you're walking on land, a PLB is the better choice. The next question is, if you choose an EPIRB, do you want one that is manually deployed, meaning you pop it out of a bracket and it turns on if you put it in the water or if you turn it on with a switch? Or do you want one that's hydrostatically released? By that we mean you take this EPIRB and you mount it in a waterproof container on deck. If the boat sinks below a certain depth, the EPIRB will be released and automatically start transmitting. That's a great feature for commercial boats or for really large power boats. Frequently though, sailboats and smaller boats take on so much water that we generally recommend that you go with a manually activated EPIRB, or what's known as a Category 2. The Category 1 EPIRBs, or the hydrostatic releasing EPIRBs, are slightly more expensive and better for commercial vessels or really large power boats. The next question is whether you want a PLB or an EPIRB that has a built-in GPS. This used to be a really expensive additional feature, and now basically all of them have a built-in GPS that computes its own position. Why is this an advantage? Well, the main advantage is by using its own GPS position and transmitting it to geostationary satellites, the Mission Control Center in Maryland gets the exact position of where you're transmitting from much more quickly. If you don't have a built-in GPS, the Coast Guard and NOAA can still figure out where you are, but it takes a satellite pass that could take up to 90 minutes to come by your position. So you get a more accurate position and you get a more instantaneous position when you have a built-in GPS. Finally, a new advance in PLBs and GPSs is the addition of a small screen on the front of them, or display. This allows you to check battery status, to see your latitude and longitude, and to make sure that the PLB or the EPIRB is working perfectly. We really like this feature. It adds a couple $100s to the cost of the PLB or the EPIRB, but it gives you that extra sense of security knowing that your PLB or EPIRB is ready to go. So we hope this has been helpful in trying to decide which beacon is right for you. If you want more information on SEND devices, we have a separate buyer's guide specifically dedicated to those devices. Thanks, and remember, all of these products are available through West Marine online or at any of our over 300 stores across the country.